Ah, yes. Will winter ever end? Of course, it always does, but why not make a plan to help feel better before the snow's gone? Gracefully and Frankly is made possible, and so are a whole lot of steps, stairs, and squats by Sierra Sil. All natural capsules that promise you'll feel a difference in your pain management within 14 days, or your money fully refunded. It's kept my Rob playing hockey and kept our elderly dogs back in the day jumping up on the bed. And Rob, too.
Check out sierrasil.com. Sierra like the mountains, SIL.com, and use the code GF for 10% off.
Welcome to episode 110 of Gracefully and Frankly. I'm Erin Davis.
I am Lisa Brandt. I am so glad you keep track of what number because I never remember, ever.
Well, the most important number to me right now is 2. 2 more sleeps until you get here and I pick you up at the airport and we jump up and down and go, squeak!
And that's literal. Yes, I cannot wait to be there. Not just for the weather, but also for the companionship.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it. Yeah.
And this is where you say, not just for the dogs, but for you, too.
Oh, and the dogs. Oh, I can't wait to see the dogs.
Yeah. Are you going to check a bag?
Oh, no. You have laundry there, right?
Yes, I have plenty of it. Are you coming to wash it?
No, I mean laundry facilities.
Oh, yes.
No, I'm only bringing carry-on, and I'm just packing light, so you might see repeat offender outfits through the time I'm there.
Whatever will I do? Well, silently judge you. That's what. Oh, it's going to be great, and I'm so looking forward to it. And I just wish that everyone who is listening could be together with us because we do laugh so much. We talk about so much, and then I'll stop, and you'll stop in the middle of a conversation and start typing on our phones. But rather than think the other person's being rude, we just know we're writing down ideas for the podcast.
That's so right. Yes, and the dogs are going to want to listen up. Oh. This particular one here right now, because dogs and cats have benefited thanks to a viral song from last year that we talked about on this podcast.
That's right. That's going to be one of the highlights. Plus, Yeah, I'm not going full California on you here, Lisa. It's the benefits of humming. You can do it just about anywhere, and we're going to talk about that.
What Gen Z or Z misunderstands about boomers and what boomers misunderstand about Generation Z, the younger ones, born 1995 to 2009. We're going to try and bridge the generation gap with the help of a psychologist.
Yes, and the more we understand each other, the better we get along.
Yes.
I'm so glad to hear that you're only bringing carry-on because I have your envy pillow here, sweetheart, and it comes with an added bonus these days when people are so intent on shopping Canadian.
Right, because Envy Pillow is as Canadian as it gets. Maple syrup, hockey, and Envy Pillow. Truly Canadian, started by Canadians who were on the Canadian Dragon's Den and went and did their own thing. You should watch the episode, though, if you haven't. If you'd like to know about the Envy Pillow women, it's pretty cool. But yeah, it's just such a great success story and such a big part of our lives as we sleep on one every night. Not the same one.
No, not in this case. I would give up my Envy Pillow for your visit here. But check it out at envypillow.com. Use the code GF for 10% off and find out why it's the true North wrinkle-free. Well, how are you holding up this week?
I'm fine. I went on a news blackout and looked at some recaps later. Just didn't even get into it. How are you doing?
Okay. Monday was hard. You know, you continue to see all the changes that are happening right away, and none of them seem to be positive for most people, including his voters, like the price of insulin for starters. Oh, man, that's going to be something else.
We can't be surprised.
Nope, you're absolutely right. And I came across this quote earlier this week, and I posted it on Facebook and Insta on Tuesday, and it's by someone named Goy Nasu. And they say an entire sea of water can't sink a ship unless it gets inside the ship. Similarly, the negativity of the world can't put you down unless you allow it to get inside you. You're so good at that. You're my hero for that, honestly.
Well, I'm not perfect. I'm working on it, but I really do try. There's just so much of it lately, and what disheartens me the most is how many people I didn't know were so willing to throw out people who are not like them. Mm-hmm. And now they're all out in the surface, and, it can really get to you. So I'm like a horse on the racetrack with blinders on. If I turn my head, my eye gets covered.
Yeah, and we just have to make a concerted effort to see that it doesn't happen here.
Yeah.
That's all we can do.
And that means get out and vote, damn it.
Or volunteer, or run, or donate to the party of your choice. It's so important. I was mentioning to you, did you notice right after the election, we never ever heard about what was going on in Springfield, Ohio, which was never going on anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you remember the Kiffness, we talked about this guy. His name is David Scott, and he's from South Africa, right?
Right.
And he did this song about eating the cats.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
Oh, thank you for that earworm again, my friend. This better be going somewhere because I'm going to be doing that the rest of the day.
It got something like 50 million views within the first few days, and he said he was going to donate 50% of the proceeds, because this is how a lot of these guys make their money, right? With streams.
Sure.
They get paid by YouTube and whatever else. So he wrote a check to the Springfield, Ohio Humane Society for $100,000.
Wow.
So the cats and the dogs and the bunnies and the gerbils and whatever else that they have there will be better fed and looked after because of this song. And so it did turn that ridiculous lie into something positive.
Well, that's nice to hear.
Yeah.
And we're going to try and focus on the good as we go forward. I mean, no toxic positivity, because nobody needs to hear that. We need tips and help to try and keep our heads up and keep that water from sinking the ship. And we can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot to be happy about and to be hopeful about.
Yeah.
And it always goes back to Mr. Rogers and his mother saying, look for the helpers, and concentrating on the helpers.
Absolutely. Are you a fan of cottage cheese? Because I'm just in the midst of stocking up the fridge for your visit. And I should actually list the cheeses that I have, because cheeses are just all right with me. We've got Gouda or Gouda, smoked, and brie, and one other kind I can't remember, but we're all cheesed up. The last guest I had here was lactose intolerant and couldn't eat cheese, and I wanted to start a GoFundMe for her.
Go cheese, more cheese for me.
That's right. So do you like cottage cheese?
Love it. In fact, about 3 months ago, I saw somebody post about how cottage cheese is gross and shouldn't be on the market and all this stuff. And I was sitting there eating my cottage cheese going, well, I don't agree with that. For one thing, it has the word cheese in it.
Well, that's right.
I love cottage cheese.
And I like cottages. So there you go. Yeah, it's long been considered yogurt's ugly step-sibling, but guess what? Your cottage cheese is having a moment, and I don't mean the cellulite you'll see on my thighs at the pool. The curdled snack sales have jumped by 50% in the last 5 years. I have no idea why.
Well, it makes sense because it's protein, and it's not full of sugar, and you can get it 1% fat, no fat, or tons of fat. The other day I chopped a Granny Smith apple into it, and it was like a little taste of heaven. Oh. I'm easy to please.
Well, so am I. I mean, for years my cottage cheese hack was to put celery salt on it.
Oh, I bet it would be good with any kind of, like, popcorn flavoring. Oh.
Cottage cheese naked is good too, though, right?
Oh, I like it naked. I like to put a dollop or two, like, sort of in the corner of a salad, and just bring it on in once in a while.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You can eat it on the go. I used to eat it in college all the time, or added to just about anything. Okay, dirty secret. And I know some of the women who are listening who are of Italian descent will be going, no. My mom used to put it in lasagna instead of ricotta because, where we lived, I think ricotta was a pretty exotic thing. So cottage cheese would have been the go-to. Did your mom ever?
I don't know. I can't remember, but it wouldn't surprise me because, ricotta would have been exotic in Smithville.
Yes.
I don't know how easy it was to get.
And Smithfield. You and I both came from the Smiths at one time or another.
That's right. I love it, and it's good for you. And you can whip it.
Whip it good.
Yeah. With try to detect it. It's not too late. You can whip it and it becomes very, very creamy, almost like a yogurt. Oh.
If you're salivating, we'll take a sip of water here and I won't slurp like last week. Okay, that's better. Last thing you want to hear is somebody all spitty and stuff when you're listening to your podcast, especially if it's in your AirPods. Oh, you know what I discovered?
No.
And this is even better for my Envy pillow than just using a pillow speaker because I know it probably creates a semi-sphere on my face. There are sleep pods. Did you know this?
No.
You can put them in your ears. They're like AirPods, but they're flat, so they're flush in your ear when you're sleeping on the side.
Huh.
Yeah.
See, I can't even look into any of that. I just overlook it because of my hearing aids, so I don't even pay attention to it. That is really cool.
And your little teeny tiny ear canals. Are we going to have to go look for children's hearing aids again on your visit this year like last year? Oh, God.
Oh, when we went to the float thing and I couldn't float as well because the big plugs wouldn't go in my ears.
Yeah, and there was the time you got one wet because yours are so darn comfortable you forgot you had them in.
And I'm not that bright.
No, well, no, I'm not saying that at all. You were relaxed. You were on vacation. So let me ask you this. Are you feeling any qualms about coming to the U.S. this Saturday?
Until the polar vortex hit, I had some moments just because of I wouldn't call it a qualm. I wouldn't call it even ambivalence. That's too strong. But just a little thing in my tummy, like I don't want anything I do to become a positive for the administration of that country. Mm-hmm. You know, my tourism dollars or anything. I don't want anything that I've done, no matter how small, to be a brag-worthy thing when it's collected with everybody else. Yeah. But I'm really looking forward to the weather. Yeah. I am absolutely looking forward to seeing you.
Oh, well.
And no, I'm looking forward to going. It was minus 33 with the wind chill here. And that'll be a qualm killer.
That's an everything killer.
Yeah.
I am so looking forward to having you here. And don't forget, 1 week tonight at 4 o'clock on the West Coast and 7 p.m. Eastern, it'll be another Facebook Live. We are going to be visiting the wondrous Wanda, and she's going to host us for our Facebook Live. Tell you a bit about that, but be sure and put it in your digital calendar or stamp it on your head or whatever you need to do so that you remember that.
If you go to the event on our Facebook page, you'll see the event is there. And if you click going, no one's going to come and follow you or knock on your door if you don't come. But if you do click that you're going, you will get a reminder.
Oh, good.
I know sometimes people are reticent. They're like, I'm not really sure. But that way somebody will give you a heads up.
Yeah, it's January in Canada. Really, what else are you doing? True. You know?
Does it bug you when you see, hey, boomer?
Yeah, when it's derogatory. Right. Or, okay, boomer, or something like that. And we have referred to that. What is our generation again when we're too young to be actual boomers? It's like Gen whatever, or what are we?
We're Generation Jones.
Right.
So we don't quite feel old enough to be boomers. So we're like a subset of the boomers. The gap between, and this takes into account that we're still boomers. So it's a wide gap between boomers and I'm going to say Z because we're in Canada. I'm in Canada. Gen Z or Z. It's no wonder that there are generation gaps. I mean, we look back to the Beatles coming to America before, we had come of age, and it was all about haircuts and whatever's going on. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So Gen Z has never known a world without smartphones. They were born between 1995 and 2009. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The early end of boomers were around when TV was invented.
Yeah.
It's not like we're growing up in the same worlds. It's not like Gen Z is coming up in the exact same world. You know, we've talked before about how, depending on your birth order, you kind of grow in a different family.
Mm-hmm.
So this psychologist has written a book about it. Her name is Jean Twenge. She's a professor of psychology at San Diego State University, and she boiled it down to 3 things that boomers wish Gen Z knew and that Gen Z wish boomers knew.
Oh, you've got my attention. This is great.
So millennials and Gen Z, they're all looking at a future with not being able to afford a house maybe. And it's like, well, you guys could do it and it was so easy for you. Well, it really wasn't. Housing prices were cheap, but we remind younger people that mortgage rates in the 80s were like 18%.
Yep.
Above 10% for nearly all of the 1980s.
Wow.
So mortgage payments were high. You weren't paying down your principal. The homes were small. Very few people had 2 vehicles because that was such a luxury. The only reason my family did is because my dad had a work truck.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't totally the norm. Okay, another thing that Gen Z should know about boomers, it was much harder to be a working woman. Women, especially well into the 80s and the 70s, were criticized for going to work and having someone look after their kids. Of course, it was better than in the 60s, but it still wasn't really great. So we're queenagers, and actually all the younger women I know thank me all the time, and they thank women all the time for helping to pave the way. And they're still paving the way for the women coming up behind them. But we broke down a lot of barriers. It was difficult. And the other thing, too, Gen Z, millennials, they did get robbed of some time during COVID. They had climate change to worry about, inflation, income equality. They're worried about wars overseas. Of course, there's all those things. We had our crap, too, right?
Yep.
People really wondered if it was the end of the world. Boomers are being drafted into the Vietnam War during the 70s. Very young men. Martin Luther King Jr., John F. Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy were assassinated. Well, and of course, there was a gas shortage. I don't know how much you remember about that, but I remember lining up for gas, right?
Sure.
So it wasn't some distant thing that was...
Utopia.
Right. We had our own stuff. Mostly our parents, right?
Right. I think the biggest disappointment in boomers, and we're talking the higher end, is the ones who marched to protest Ohio State or the Vietnam War and all that have completely gone off their nut thanks to Fox News and living in a complete atmosphere of fear all the time and then trying to take away from anyone who came after them. They're pulling the ladder up. It's just, I think that's what's the most infuriating. Plus, the condescension wherein if you would not go to Starbucks, you'd be able to afford a house, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
That's so not true.
Right.
There's a lot of that. So Gen Z, again, this psychologist says now there are 3 things about them that the rest of us need to understand.
Okay.
The first one is they are not immature. They're taking longer to grow up. So they're getting married later. They're having kids later. They're maybe settling into a career later. They're trying a bunch of things. All those milestones that were earlier for us and for our parents, their whole life cycle has slowed down, according to the psychologist Jean Twenge. She says they're less likely to have been independent when they were kids. So they're less likely to have been allowed to do adult things when they got older. So they've got more of a slow life strategy. And they're kind of like, okay, it's not arrested development. They're going, we're going to live longer. We can take longer to figure out what it is we want to do. And we want to do the right thing.
This sounds like a reverberation, Lisa, of the helicopter parent.
Yep.
The one who insisted on walking their child to this and that, can't have sleepovers, and all of the, what we saw as looking at parenting after us, where it was just like, you have no freedom for these children whatsoever. You're controlling every day after school. You're making sure that everything is slotted in.
Yeah.
And no freedom. Something else, Lisa, that occurred to me, we were talking when my guest was here. She has a daughter just turned 19. And this generation coming up that has so much anxiety, and there are myriad reasons for anxiety. This is in no way a blanket statement. But can part of the anxiety in the coming generations have to do with too many choices?
Yeah. Interesting.
Like What do you want for dinner tonight? Were we ever asked what we wanted for dinner?
Never, not once.
No.
I remember my mom putting a menu of choices up on my bedroom door when I had chickenpox, and it was a big deal that she felt so bad for me that I got to choose what I was going to eat. That never happened. Never.
Exactly. And, all these choices on your phone. What apps? What are you going to look at? You want to buy a pair of leggings? You've got 19 different options. Even TikTok. And what a show that was this past week. Aren't you glad we're off TikTok, by the way?
Oh, yes, yes.
Yay. But just too many choices. We didn't have any. We didn't have 1,500 channels. People of our age, somebody says, oh my gosh, Shrinking is so good. Harrison Ford is wonderful. Where do I watch it?
Right.
I have no idea.
Right.
Yeah.
And how many are you supposed to subscribe to? That's the thing. It's like, oh, great. You're absolutely right. I think that's a very good observation. Too many choices, not enough responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think, too, reading about this family that let their kids play in the park, and one of the moms called the police because they were, she said they were endangering the child.
Yes.
It's like, oh my goodness. Okay, transgender and non-binary people, according to the psychologist, are not a tiny segment of the population anymore.
Oh.
In national surveys conducted in 2023-24, 1 out of 10 young adults identified as either transgender or non-binary. And for you and I, this is not a problem. If someone's transgender or non-binary, it does not harm my life in any way. And if it makes them a happier person, the planet is better for it.
Right.
That's how I see it.
And I don't care who's peeing in the stall next to me, just as long as they'll hand me toilet paper if I need it.
Bingo. The other thing she pointed out is that it's not just big cities, too. I mean, this is happening everywhere. And the other one is Gen Z want us to know they're not snowflakes. Many are clinically depressed, and some for a good reason. It's often assumed it's because they're coddled or overly sensitive, but they stopped seeing friends in person as much. They didn't have, like you said just now, no hanging out after school. Everything's scheduled. No more parties on weekend. Their social lives are just completely different. And you sit in your own little room hoping somebody's going to like a picture you took.
Right.
That's your social activity. What the heck is that? We can put it into context because we know before times. But for them, that's all they know. So if we can bridge a little gap of understanding here between us, I think it's going to be better for everybody. All it comes down to is the benefit of the doubt and not just assuming, what the other person's life is like.
It all comes down to labeling, right?
Yeah.
Stop with the labels already. We got a lovely GNF email this week to gracefullyfrankly@gmail.com, and it prompted you to do a little bit of digging about it. Kathy wrote, I recently discovered an organization called Cleaning for a Reason, minus because company's coming. This organization is active throughout the U.S. and Canada. They offer, get this, 2 free house cleanings to people who are dealing with cancer. Isn't that incredible?
It's amazing. It's wonderful. Talk about giving back.
Yeah, it really is. And cleaningforareason.org is their website. I'll say it again, cleaningforareason.org. And what did you find out when you were digging around there?
Well, I went to it, and at first it looks like it's not active. It's a weird website with a map, but it is definitely active. There are tons of companies offering their services. I think there were maybe a dozen in Toronto, which doesn't sound like much for Toronto, but if it's 2 cleanings per person, and they can really do a lot of assistance there. It's fantastic. And there's even one near Port Stanley here.
What?
Yeah, in Elmer. So you just have to go on the website and plug in a postal code, and it will bring up your area and who's available there. I have 2 friends right now, Erin, dealing with breast cancer. One just had surgery, and the other one is coming to the end of her chemo. And had I known about this earlier, it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. Imagine coming home to a clean house when you can't do it yourself.
Oh, absolutely. It's so low on the list of things you want to do. And of course, those worrying about you and caring for you. You could have a husband or a wife at home who's got 2 kids to look after, and the house is an absolute disaster. And the last thing you need is to come home to that and think you need to clean up. And of course, you could always just make a donation, pay it forward. Go to cleaningforareason.org. Kathy, thank you so much for putting us onto that. We just love that. And she says, just sharing in case your listeners or someone they know could use their services. Much love to all, Kathy. We appreciate you.
Very much.
I suppose it wouldn't be too helpful to people suffering from anxiety, no matter what the generation or whatever cohort we fit into, to tell them to hum. But believe it or not, Lisa, even if it's...
Sorry for snorting.
That's okay. Even if it's just to get that Kiffness song out of your head.
Right.
According to a poll from Harris and the American Psychological Association, 3/4 of us are reporting the future of our nations in Canada and the U.S. as a significant source of stress in their lives. So if you're among those people, you've probably tried meditation, which I'm doing daily now, yoga, deep breathing, even sighing are proven to help promote calm. But humming is now really coming to the fore in terms of a way to help yourself. Like, from yoga, the meditation chant, Om, which ends with a humming sound, appears to promote relaxation and provide calmness. Try it right now. You, Lisa, anyone listening, just try it. No, Om. It's O-M.
Om.
How you feeling? There she goes. Okay.
Yeah, it really does bring your vibration down, because when we're stressed out, we're in that kind of fight or flight response, right? And this apparently counteracts it and makes your heart rate slow down. And
it absolutely does.
What?
And it can be the gateway drug to tranquility. Some believe that it stimulates the vagus nerve. I call it vagus nerve instead of the vagus nerve, because that's the one that's telling me to go gamble and I don't listen to it.
I wondered.
Yeah. It starts in your brainstem and goes all the way to your stomach. And it sort of has to do with the rest and digest part of your nervous system. And when you activate the vagus nerve, it tells our body we are safe and can relax.
Right.
It helps our bodies to counteract the fight or flight response that we experience during stress. And we're not exactly sure how it works, but one of the ways to do it is to put your thumbs in your ears. I know you're doing it right now, and point your fingers toward the top of your head. Okay, that's one way to do it.
All right.
And then you hum, okay? And another way is to put your thumbs in your ears and your fingers gently into your eye toward the inside of your eye, and then hum. Okay.
What if I put my thumbs in my ears and my pinkies up my nose? Does that help at all?
I don't know, but you put your left finger in, you take your left finger out. It's really what it's all about.
Okay.
But it's just encouraging authentic communication. It opens up the 5th chakra of your body, if you believe in that, your throat chakra. Encourages you to speak your truth, be more honest in communication. And it's a whole thing. So we will post this on our Gracefully and Frankly Facebook page. It's from wellandgood.com.
And what's it hurt? You're not ingesting anything.
Right.
It literally cannot hurt. So why not? Yeah.
Humming for stress relief. I love that. Anything we can do to take our stress levels down is all good.
Mm-hmm.
So are you stressed about your travel this Saturday? What are you worried about? Because I'll talk you through it.
No, all very good. I don't think I'll hum on the plane, but no, everything's mapped out. I'm flying Porter, so I know it's going to be a easy check-in process.
Oh, good. Well, we really should get them as a sponsor. Darn, I wish that we could, and then we could be together more often and do these podcasts and the Facebook Lives. Let's intention that for 2025. Porter as a sponsor. Let's hum. Porter, please sponsor us. I was trying to harmonize there. Would you keep a note?
I can't.
In your carry-on?
I can't keep a note. Oh. I love to sing, just nobody loves it when I do.
Oh, honey bun, that's the best. It's making joyful noises. And hopefully we've done some of that here today. Don't forget, next week's Gracefully and Frankly episode 111, which is the name of the highway here. Oh, wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
It's going to be live. We'll do it on camera. On Facebook, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. here on the West Coast, 3 in Alberta. I can do this. No, I've mucked it up. No, I haven't. Okay. 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. here on the West Coast, 3 p.m. in Alberta, 8 in the Maritimes.
In Newfoundland?
And 8:30 in Newfoundland. Yeah, you got me. Email us your questions and topics, and we'll cover them. And, of course, you can join in with questions. We actually have the wickedly wonderful Wanda taking care of us this time, and she'll be sending them to us telepathically. But to find out more, go to the events at Gracefully and Frankly's Facebook page. And as always, as we've said, you can email us at gracefullyfrankly@gmail.com. Hey, how are the necklaces coming? You bringing a bunch of stuff in your suitcase? Am I getting new stuff?
Yes, I will bring you new stuff. Oh,
Yay!
Don't get me started on Canada Post.
Oh, my gosh. Still?
It's so frustrating, and people have been amazing, but, some have been waiting since November.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm doing what I can, so they'll arrive eventually, I promise.
Okay.
But yeah, yours is coming personally delivered.
Yippee. So are we going to wear Gracefully and Frankly merch for the podcast?
Sure. Or caftans, I don't know.
You and your caftans. Oh, my God. Oh, can I tell you, I was in Walmart last week, and I am so desperate to do something about my hair, just because it's getting a little long and out of control, that I almost went to the Supercuts, and they said 40-minute wait, and I went, okay.
That's a sign.
Yes, maybe. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with Supercuts, nothing wrong with getting stuff done at Walmart, but it's just you're taking such a chance, right?
You are.
Yeah.
We should look for a Flowbee.
A Flowbee, one of those hair cutters that cuts and blows and sucks at the same time, sure.
Hey, if it's good enough for George Clooney, it's good enough for us.
But are we good enough for George Clooney? That's the question. Well, your Keurig's ready. Sorry, George, we don't have Nespresso here in the rental house. Your coffee's ready. The dogs are ready. We can't wait to see you Saturday. Thanks for joining us here for episode 110. Lisa and everybody else.
I can't wait to get there. Woo.
Squeak!